All right, welcome to Talk Tickers, the show where we dive deep into the earnings calls that are actually moving the needle. And today, we've got a big one, ServiceTitan's Q2 results for fiscal 26. So, leading up to the report, the stock was, let's say, a little soft. But once those numbers hit the wire, whoa, it was a completely different story. The stock just ripped, jumping almost 10% in after-hours trading. Okay, so let's get right into it. The market's verdict was crystal clear bullish. But why? What was the fuel for this fire? Well, it really comes down to three things: a super clean beat, some huge strategic wins, and a very confident outlook. All right, first things first. Let's talk about the headline numbers. And let me tell you, this wasn't just a squeak-by beat. No, they absolutely knocked it out of the park, outperforming pretty much everywhere you look. So let's start with the bottom line. They delivered non-GAAP earnings of 33 cents a share. The consensus on the street? Just 18 cents. I mean, that's not just a beat, that's an 83% surprise. Just a massive number. And that strength carried right on through to the top line. Revenue landed at $242.1 million, which was a solid $12.6 million more than anyone was expecting. That's a 25% jump year over year. Very, very strong. You know, as strong as those numbers are, this next one might be the most impressive. Let's talk about cash. Free cash flow surged, get this, 83% year over year. That is a huge signal that their operating leverage is really starting to kick in. So when you lay it all out like this, the picture becomes really clear, right? This wasn't just a beat in one area. From revenue to earnings to transaction volume and that incredible cash flow number, it's just strength across the entire business. Okay, so the numbers are obviously impressive, but honestly, the story behind those numbers is what gets really interesting. And it all revolves around two big themes: major wins and the impact of AI. You know, for years now, on every earnings call, we've heard management talk about their big investments in the large enterprise and commercial markets. Well, this quarter, they finally gave us the proof point we've all been waiting for, showing that those investments are really starting to pay off. And what was that proof point? A massive one. They announced a strategic partnership with Roto-Rooter. I mean, this is one of the biggest names in the business. Landing a huge legacy brand like that is, frankly, a game changer. It totally validates their entire strategy to move up market. So that's the big enterprise win. But the other huge theme this quarter was automation. And this is all being powered by their AI platform, which they call Titan Intelligence. And they didn't just talk about it in the abstract. They gave a really powerful example of what this looks like in the real world. So check this out. They walked through a case study with a customer called Gulf Shore. And this customer achieved something pretty incredible: the first fully automated job in their company's history. Think about that. From the moment the job was booked by AI to dispatching the tech all the way to payment, the only human being involved was the technician actually doing the work on site. And this wasn't just some cool tech demo for the sake of it. No, this drove immediate, tangible financial results. Look at this: a 22% increase in their close rate, a $150 jump in the average ticket size. That is real, measurable ROI. Okay, so that's the story of Q2, a fantastic quarter. But what about the road ahead? Let's take a look at the guidance. Now for Q3, they're guiding for a slight dip in revenue compared to Q2. But, you know, that's totally normal. Q2 is usually the busiest season for the trades, so a little seasonal dip is expected. Nothing to worry about there. The real story here, though, isn't the Q3 guide. It's the full year picture. They raised their revenue guidance for the entire fiscal year, and that is a huge signal of confidence to the market. It tells you they believe this momentum is sustainable. So let's just recap for a second. You've got the huge beat across the board, you have the massive enterprise win with Roto-Rooter, you have a tangible AI story that's actually driving value, and you top it all off with a raised full-year guide. When you put all those pieces together, yeah, it's pretty easy to see why investors got so excited. All right, that brings us to the next call. This is where we put it all together and give you our take on what this all means for the stock going forward. So, based on everything we just saw in this quarter and the outlook they provided, what's our call on Titan? Look, from our perspective, the bullish case here is really firing on all cylinders. That Roto-Rooter win, that's not just another logo on a side. That is a massive credibility boost for their entire enterprise strategy. At the same time, you see the operating leverage kicking in, the cash flow growing, and that AI story is finally moving from a buzzword into something that creates real value. So for all those reasons, we're assigning an outperform rating to the stock. ServiceTitan is showing a very clear path to not just durable growth, but also expanding profitability. And that's our take on ServiceTitan's really standout quarter. The big question now is, can they keep up this level of execution, especially as they go after even bigger fish in the enterprise market? That's what we'll be watching. As always, this is not financial advice.